Good morning. Happy Sunday morning. Happy Resurrection Day. The scale went down yesterday, 1.8 after last week of being a 4-pound gain. So there's that. Now I've been thinking about, with it being Resurrection Day and all that, I've been thinking about that. And in regards to how, Jesus died, essentially, if you take it for, if we just put it at a basic level, Jesus died to free us from bondage, right? From bondage. And all we have really done in the idea here is find new ways to put ourselves in bondage again. Think about that word bondage. Could you substitute the word addiction for bondage? Could you literally just change that word real quick? Because is addiction not bondage? If you're addicted to something, are you not in bondage by that something you're addicted to? We live in society where claiming you're addicted to something is normalized. And we just find new ways. We tell our friends, oh my God, you got to see this new TV show. I'm totally addicted to it. We eat foods that are filled with things that cause us to become addicted. And we can never get enough of them. And we even know we can never get enough of them. And we continue to eat them. We make no attempt to separate ourselves from the bondage. As a matter of fact, you're addicted to foods, you just try to find new foods that you're addicted to. You're addicted to alcohol, you just everything. It doesn't really matter. The subject of the addiction doesn't matter. What the object is. Television, movies, entertainment. All of it. We live in a society that normalizes addiction. Addiction is bondage. So a man, 2,000 some odd years ago, comes to live a perfect life and is murdered, nailed to a cross, to free all of those who could not live this life, who were not able to give them a way to be free of bondage. And then when they have the freedom, they seek bondage. That's essentially, in a nutshell, what this current society is. And I don't think any society in general is any different. Okay? I don't believe any society is any different across the board. I think that it doesn't matter what year it is. That you plug in the year, they had something to become addicted to in that time period. I don't care if it's 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, whatever it is. Just because they didn't have the internet and television and everything we have does not mean they didn't have ways to become or to put themselves in bondage. This is not something new to people living in current day. It's been happening since the beginning of time. A man died on a cross to free us from bondage, and every single person who has lived since has essentially done what was necessary to put themselves in bondage. There are a few who take themselves out, and you hear me talk about it some of my walk videos and the podcast. You hear me talk about being addicted to food and finally breaking this addiction a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time worked for me. But I don't know why it just doesn't. The idea alone of giving up something you're addicted to makes people uncomfortable. And I'm sure there was a time in my 6 years here, I was the same way. But somewhere along the line, I don't know. I don't know that I ever made a conscious decision to say I'm done with these kinds of foods, except for the fact that they switched in the beginning, right? So the foods I was addicted to switched from, the junk food of the world to the the acceptable, healthy versions of junk food. And I call them that, so essentially what I was eating was just as highly processed, and we considered it healthy, and as it was before, where I was eating what would be called junk, it was just as highly processed. So either way, in reality, both versions were junk. The only difference is one is seen or perceived as healthy and the other one isn't, right? And somewhere along the way, I started to make changes saying, why can't I just have one of these things? Why is it that I'm holding this little granola bar or protein bar or whatever the case may be? Why is it that I'm holding these things and I can never just eat one of them? And this is what fueled the desire. Good morning. It fueled the desire to rid myself of them. Okay? This was the reason I rid myself of these things. Anything in a wrapper, anything in a box. If it didn't grow out of the ground, if it didn't get cut off, if it's not the meat of an animal, if it didn't come from an animal in some way, and if it didn't grow out of the ground, I was not eating it any longer. And if I really wanted something like bread or something like cottage cheese, yogurt, the quest would be to find the least processed versions of these things. That became my goal somewhere along the line, and I can't honestly tell you, was there a conscious decision made in that process. But either way, no matter how I cut this story, I slowly, over the last 6 years, made changes. So perceived changes along the way. Same to you. Made changes along the way. And when I made these changes, I made sure to calculate a time period that I'm making these changes. And 8 weeks was my measurement. If I could do this for 8 weeks, I will be successful. And then the 8 weeks was up and I said, okay, I did that and that made me successful. Now let me do this for 8 weeks and maintain that for the next 8 weeks. And slowly but surely, 8 weeks at a time, I eliminated the overwhelming majority of processed foods from my life. And anything you could see in my daily intake that's processed now, most people would overlook if you just say the word processed foods. But the key is slowly, over time. And every time I made these moves, I broke the hold. I broke the bondage that food had on my life. Am I saying I'm free of it being addicted to anything? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that there's a way. One day I'll get there, and I'm telling you that one day you can get there too. And if we take the example of someone who died on a cross to free us from the bondage as the fuel source of why we're making the moves we're making, maybe, just maybe, you will create the greatest version of yourself. Whatever you're doing today, enjoy yourself. It's Resurrection Sunday. Enjoy it. I love each and every one of you. God bless you. God bless you all.